Welcome, welcome. I am so excited because today I actually have a friend joining me on the podcast, Z. Z is an athlete, a yoga teacher, a boxing instructor, and right now her primary focus is on trail and ultra running. She recently is completing her first 100 miler this year. She has completed 5 ultras, which range from 50K and 100 miles, and has been running a race a year since 2013. We are diving into her mindset as a high performance athlete, what drove her to push for more, and what pushes her to keep going when her mind and body want to give up. And as I said, I'm so excited because I know her personally, and I want to thank you so much for being here. So, thank you for
Thanks,
being here.
Paige.
How are you? What
I'm
do you have
good.
going
Thanks for
on
having
out
me.
Yeah, what do you have going on outside of all your races? Because I know that you have 2 major things that are going on outside of your training. So let's dive into this first for the person that manages it all.
Yeah, we'll get really a lot into the training and running part of it, but two really big things that I'm excited about. One, I am hosting a yoga retreat in Twin Lakes, Colorado. That's at the end of February. It's called Ground and Gather. And we're hoping to get a bunch of people out there that might be athletes, but also are interested in yoga. Any level is welcome. And we're doing a early bird discount through the new year. So if you're interested, reach out. And then another project that I'm really excited about, I was asked to do an artist collab with a company called Women Can, who lifts up women in sports, but also in life. So Women Can really promoting that women can do anything that men can do. So my
Obviously.
collaboration is also lifting up the queer community. So women, queer, trans, and non binary people. So look for that.
Amazing.
I think it's going to be released by the time this episode's out.
Amazing. And when I say Z does it all, I mean she does it all. She is training, she's working a full-time job. She is an instructor. I mean, it is a whole shebang. So, before we jump into, your mindset and whatnot when you are running these races, I want to ground this in some facts because whenever we were prepping for the episode, you and I discussed just kind of briefly, hey, how many people actually run these type of races? And then obviously I took it a little deeper than that because I think the actual numbers will astonish you. So globally, and I want to preface this, it's a little these stats are impressive, but they're not finite because it's very hard to measure it globally just because people aren't reporting, et cetera. But from the stats that I could find, the amount of people that actually run or complete an ultra marathon is 0.004% of the global population. And that is one in about 10,000 to 25,000 people. The amount of people that complete 100K is one in 100,000 people. And then the amount of people that complete 100 miler is 0.001% of the global population, which again translates to one in over 100,000 people. So, what you're doing is not something that everyone does every day. I personally, you and I have discussed this. I don't enjoy running. I don't want to run if I don't have to. And I have never woken up and been like, I'm going to go train for this or whatever that. So, what was that moment or event in your life where you woke up and you're like, I'm going to run a 100 miler?
Oh man, yeah, I do think that this was kind of an evolution. So I didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, that's my goal. It's kind of been like this gradual thing. And like you said, or in the intro, I've been running races since 2013.
Hmm.
So it definitely has It started out, being inspired and then actually doing it, like doing some road races, halves and, full marathons, and then when I moved to Colorado, that's kind of when it shifted to, oh, trails, are a little bit different mindset. I We can go into that,
Yeah.
on how they approach, training and racing, and then once you're in that community, and especially in Colorado, you just kinda get sucked into it. So many people here are training for big things, and I don't know, Colorado is a little bit of a monster in itself. I came here 8 years ago, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm training for a marathon." I did, like, a 18-mile training run. The person next to me is like, "Oh, yeah, I ran a marathon for just fun." And you're just like, "Whoa," like, people are extreme
Yeah.
here. So I think that was part of it is, like, kind of getting sucked into the trail culture, but then also the more that I did it and saw what the body is capable of and the mind, the more you're like, "I think I can do more. I think I can do more. I think I can do more," until it's kind of like, "Okay, I really do think that I could complete a 100 miler, and, that's my next goal." So that was this year. I coined it the year of the 100. I did a
I
100K
love
back
it.
in May, and then I, trained through the summer and ran my first 100 miler. I don't think it'll be the last. Oh, another thing about this 100 miler that I did. It was not a flat walk in the park. It
Right.
was 21,000 feet of elevation. So I was going up and down pretty steep mountains the whole time. That's another thing that kind of is fun about trail. Anyone out there who's run roads, you know that you're running the whole time, and the goal is to run a certain pace. Usually, a lot of people's goal is to run a 4.5 hour marathon, which is a 10-minute mile. That's a pretty good goal. These races, I was running, it took me 36 hours to complete this race, so that's about 21-minute miles because the
Mhm.
elevation is so steep. I was running a lot of the downhill, but I'm not elite. I'm not, like, finishing these first, so I am, like, hiking a lot of it, but it's still pretty crazy to think about, especially if you
'Cause
think
you
about how far you can go in 100 miles. You're, like,
right.
crossing distances of cities.
In states, in some instances, right?
Yeah.
From here to obviously I'm in Texas, you're in Colorado, but even going from certain points in Colorado, you hit New Mexico, you hit all these other cross states within 100 miles. And that's
Yeah.
an insane thing to think about. Your 100 miler was in Utah, correct?
Idaho.
Idaho. Yeah.
Yes.
eh, Big mountainous range. So, what
Yep.
is the difference between trail versus obviously I know what a road race is, but for those that don't, what is trail versus road and how different of a mentality do you have going into both? And do you still participate in both?
Yeah, it's a good question. The mentality, I know I mentioned the mentality being a little bit different. I do think they're both, they require a strong mentality in both cases. You are, getting yourself to do something that is very hard, and I think there's a different mindset in road racing because you are so concerned about time in a lot of cases. If someone completes a half marathon or a marathon, usually the follow-up question is, how fast did you do it? What were your splits? Did you walk any of it? Because the goal in road races is usually don't walk. I mean, there's a couple different philosophies. There's people that do like 10-minute run and walk a mile, walk a minute every 10 to 11 minutes, you know. Um, and they can do those well, but I think once you transition to trails, the time goes away. There's no time constraints. You can have a general goal of like, "Oh, I wanna complete this in 24 hours," or a smaller one
Mhm.
in 8 hours. But you can't really compare one trail race to another trail race, one 50K to another 50K, because the terrain is so different, the elevation gain is so different. If you do that one repeatedly, you can compare that one directly, but you can't say, "Oh, I just PR'd my 50K." It doesn't really have a way to compare because
Mhm.
they're usually so vastly different. One could be really flat, one could be really mountainous. So once you take away that kind of pressure to hit a certain minute mile or a certain time goal, it just becomes more fun. And that's kind of why I like doing trails. And I don't do as much road racing. I'm not saying that I wouldn't go back to that. One of my goals in life is to do the Boston Marathon. I will probably
Yeah.
never run fast enough to do it and probably do it on a charity bib, but there are some big races that are, like, iconic in the road racing that I would love to do. It's just so much harder on your body too, because it's very
Mhm.
repetitive. You're using the same muscles over and over and over, whereas once you get onto trail, it's rocky, you're doing different steps, you're, like, taking bigger steps up rocks, and then down, you're kind of, like, navigating, and that's where it comes into more mental as well because you have to be more aware of where your feet are going, whereas on the roads, you're just kind of almost zoning out, getting in a
Yeah.
zone. It's just 2 completely different mentalities.
Let me ask you this. When you ran that 100 miler that took you 36 hours, did you sleep at all whenever you ran that race?
No. I didn't have time to sleep because 'cause I'm not fast, and usually if you're fast, you're not taking the time to sleep either because you wanna win. There are, crazily enough, races that are 200 plus miles, and when you get into that distance, people are sleeping, but 100 milers, usually you're not.
So, diving into you're consistently moving your body for 36 hours
Yes.
without sleep. Most people go into
Mhm.
absolute delusion after being up for
Yes.
24 hours without doing something so physically taxing on your body. Were you naturally built this tough, or was this built through circumstances?
Was I Am I naturally someone that doesn't need sleep?
Well, just built that tough to withstand that.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No. In fact, sleep deprivation was my one of my biggest worries because I'm so grumpy when I don't get sleep. I thought I was just gonna be mad at everyone. No, I do think that this has been gradual progression, and I'm not I wouldn't say good at running. Like, I did cross country in high school, and I was one of the slowest on the team. I had my coach tell me after one of the time trials, he says, "Well, at least you're consistent." And
What?
I really think that that's what it takes is just showing up, putting in the work, consistently stacking bricks, and putting your mind to it because it's not something that I would say I am naturally good at. I have just put in the time, put in the even the mental training, and shown up for that training every day over and over and over until I got to the place where I knew that I could finish.
Yeah, and I do wanna dive into that mental training because obviously physical training is important, clearly, but mental training is just as important, if not more. So, what techniques do you use, whether that be visualization, breath work, whatever it may be? What techniques do you use to mentally train yourself to get through that?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is showing up. I think that, like, deciding it's a choice, right? We wake up every day and we have a choice. You either show up or you don't. And that's, I think, something that people don't understand when it comes to they always ask, "How do you keep the motivation? How do you keep motivated to do the training or to to do the whole 100 miles, it is a practice. It's a daily practice. You wake up and you say, what am I going to do today to work towards that goal? Sometimes it's not always running. Sometimes it takes mental fortitude to say, my body needs rest. There are athletes that work themselves into the ground because they are not willing to say, hey, I'm tuned in. I need to take a rest day. But you can't just always take a rest day. It is deciding to go on that run, to go on that long run, to do elevation that's really hard. And then once you're in the activity, that is where you practice your mental fortitude, because training runs 20, sometimes 30 miles, that's where it gets hard. That's where you tune into, how am I feeling and what am I going to do to get me through this type of hard. So it is physical, obviously, trying, like you're physically tired, but one of the practices I have with my community that I run with is we check in with each other. Are you ebbing or are you flowing? Ebbing is, I'm really struggling. And a lot of the time those ebbs are mental. So just naming the ebb is one of the first steps, is like, okay, I'm in an ebb, and then problem solving. What can I do? A lot of the times when you're running these races, it's just food and water. Do I need something to eat? Do I need to hydrate? Electrolytes are a big factor. Do I need to take in electrolytes? And kind of piecing together, what do I need to get back into a flow state? So naming it for one, showing up is another one, and then practicing positivity. Like when you're in the ebb, not just feeling sorry for yourself, not getting
Mhm.
stuck in that mental state of, oh my gosh, this is hard. Oh my gosh, I have 10 more miles to go. Being like, okay, I get to be in this mile, keeping it a mile at a time. That's another huge thing for my 100 was I could not think about how much left I had to go, because until the last 10 miles, you're in double digits. I had to
Right.
be like, okay, how far until the next aid station? So breaking it into chunks. Um, Practicing positivity, so not getting stuck in, "Oh my gosh, the next climb is going to be so hard," which I did get into that mindset. There was
Which we'll talk about.
a, 2,000-foot climb at mile 80, and I kept just dreading it. I kept looking into the future, and I would say it out loud. I'd be like, "I don't know how I'm gonna do that climb." And on these races, you get people that can come with you to help you after the halfway point. So I had friends with me. And that's what I told them going in to the race was, something that I need you to do is help keep me in the present mile. So when I said that, when I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine going up that mountain, they would be like, just think about now, think about this hill. And yeah, it was nice to have those reminders, but also practicing that in training was important as well. Visualization, I think, is a really good practice. I didn't do a ton of it, but I just knew that I was going to finish. That was my kind of visualization, was just, I'm going to finish no matter what. The
Yeah.
only thing that's going to keep me from finishing is if there's an exposed bone or if I'm peeing blood, which is not good for an
Yeah.
internal. Yeah, setting my mind to the finish line, whatever it takes, I'm gonna get to the finish line.
Yeah. So when you are going through these moments, I know that you said being present, but is there any moment where you have to shift your identity from either athlete to warrior to survivor to get through that moment? Example, mile 80.
Oh
What
my
identity
gosh.
did you have at mile 79 versus mile 80? Do you have to shift your identity to get through these dark moments? I'm going to call them dark moments.
It was 79 was a dark moment. Um, well, I knew that I was not gonna give up, but when I came into that aid station before the climb, I was in a very dark place. I was like, marching into the aid station. I knew that I wanted to talk to my partner. I was like, 2 things I need. I need a Monster. It's because it was like 2 AM, right? I need a
Yeah.
Monster, and I need Nicole, my partner. And I came into the aid station, and I cried. I really did, and I was like, "I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I'm going so slow on the uphills. It's gonna take me 2 hours to get to the top, and then I'm going to have to run 9 miles downhill to get to the checkpoint in time because they have cutoffs. You can't
Mhm.
just take as much time as you want. You have to make certain cutoffs." And she said, "You're not gonna give up." I was like, "No, I'm not gonna give up." She's like, "You don't know what you're capable of until you try." And I was like, "Okay." So that shift right there was like, "Okay, I'm just gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other." It did take about an hour and a half, maybe not quite 2 hours, but definitely a good solid time to get up to the top of the mountain. I was with my good friend Amy. We got to the top. We calculated how much time we had left to get to the next aid station, and we were like, "Yep, we're gonna have to run the entire way back down for you to make it." And I think that's when I switched over into warrior, like, definitely, like, I was probably filled with a bunch of adrenaline, but we just started running, and we did not stop running until we got to the aid station. I got into the aid station with 2 minutes left. They were counting.
Wow.
I could hear them in the distance, and they were like, "5 minutes." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I'm still running. 4 minutes, 3 minutes. I got in with 2 minutes left. Nicole had already thought that I was not showing up. She was like, "Well, we tried our best." But she
Yeah.
saw us run in, and she stuffed her pockets full of gels and was like, "All right, let's go." And we had to, like, literally, because you have to be out of the aid station in that time limit. So I had 2 minutes to get the stuff I needed, water, food, and then I had to, like, immediately head back out. I couldn't sit down. So, yeah, I think there is moments like that where you have to, like, not, I mean, it is shifting your mindset, but also just, like, switching into, like, go time. Like, we can't dilly-dally, we have to go.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's what happened, and I think that all that mindset practice prepared me, and that dedication to, I am not giving up. Like, I am going to get up that freaking mountain, and I'm gonna run down as much as I can so that I can get to the end.
And not only are you doing this up a mountain, you're doing this after having ran 79 miles at 2
Yeah.
AM. You're in Idaho. It's cold because this is September.
It
You
wasn't too bad,
are
but it did get chilly.
yeah, but it's also I'm assuming they don't have a lot of lights on the mountain for you. And so you're
Yes.
doing this halfway delirious, I'm sure, exhausted, not knowing how you're going to do this, et cetera, and so forth. And so, how does your mind, whenever you're going through this moment, I've got to get up this mountain in a certain amount of time, otherwise I'm done, distinguish between what is real danger versus just your mind telling you stop?
Oh, man, yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people hallucinate during these,
Do
especially
they?
in the dark. Yeah, I didn't have quite, like, I didn't have a lot of vivid hallucinations, but I didn't pick up my first pacer until around 11, 12. So I was in the dark by myself from sunset, I don't know, 7 or 8 until midnight,
And
and
what's a
I just
pacer, real quick?
Oh, yeah. A pacer is a person that's coming along with you during these long ultras. Some people don't use them, but you have checkpoints that you can pick them up. So, I could pick up my first pacer at mile 50-ish, but you have to get to them first. So I didn't get to my first pacer until around midnight. And that's
Hmm,
just I got to essentially have a buddy to go with me for the rest of the race to
okay.
help keep you on pace. help remind you to eat and drink, and then also they can help navigate when you're kind of out of it during that longer, more delirious portion. So I wasn't hallucinating vividly, but I was seeing faces in trees. The headlamp was shining against reflectors that were
Right.
telling me where to go. And every time I looked up, I thought that was a person with another headlamp because it was like a reflector. So I
Hmm.
would look up and be like, "Oh, I'm about ready to catch up to someone." But then no one was there. Like it was pretty trippy. It was definitely trippy.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember the question, how do I get through the deliriousness?
Well,
Was
and
that
how do
what?
you distinguish real danger from
Oh,
your mind just playing tricks on you?
yeah. Whew, I think that's just where the practice comes in, knowing what pain is normal in that situation and knowing
Mhm.
what pain is like you need to stop pain. And I know I joked about like you don't make sure you're not exposed bone and blood in your pee. Those are two very clear dangerous things that you
Right.
probably need to stop. But I think and here's where we get into the ultras. The ultra mindset is the mind gives up before the body does. A lot of people who do not finish, it's called DNF, did not finish,
Mhm.
they stop in races because their mind gives up. They don't think that they can continue anymore. But a lot of the times, if you talk to those people and are like, do you regret stopping? Like, could you have gone further? A lot of them will say, yeah, I could have gone further. I wish I would have kept with it. But it's just a mindset. You are so tired, your body hurts, it is physically painful, but you can keep going. People are doing this. People are doing 100Ks, 100 milers, 200 milers. The first 300 miler just came out this last year, the Monster 300. People, your body can do whatever you tell it to do. It is your
Mhm.
mind that gives up first. So I think that's where it's like you're not being chased, your bone's not exposed, you're not peeing blood, you can do it and you're trained for it. Now, it's different if you didn't train, obviously,
Right.
but even if you didn't train, your body is capable of doing a lot. It's just more susceptible to injury if you didn't train.
Yeah, it's true though. Like your mindset, obviously, and again, that's the whole premise of this podcast. Your mindset is what dictates your life. And when everything screams like I can't, that's not your body giving up. And even special forces military people will tell you your mind will give up before your body will.
Yeah,
Period. Full
it
stop
is true.
because it's true. Because your amygdala is firing, your rational brain's offline because you're scared, you're overwhelmed, overstimulated, etc. It's never the truth of the situation though. And so it's just yes, your mind gives up far more than your body. You can still continue going. It may be painful,
Mhm.
but you're not dying. You're not
Nope.
dying.
Yep, it's true.
So what when you I mean obviously you have a lot of endurance, right? So what has endurance taught you, especially in premise of completing these races, about your worth and your value and who you are and what you bring to this world?
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel like I can do anything. I know
Because you
that's so
can.
crazy, but and I was just talking to Nicole about this. We kind of have a skewed definition of what's hard because we've done races this long. It's like, "Oh, it's just a marathon." And I do want to throw out to anyone listening to this who is training for any sort of race, a 5K, a 10K, anything. That is hard. Everything that you try and you set your mind to and that you have to put time and effort in, it is hard. It doesn't make you less valuable that you're doing a 5K versus a 100 miler. And another thing, I've never not finished a race. I've never gotten that DNF. Oh my gosh, that's not true. My 100K, here's another story. my 100K, um, I we ran with a group of friends, so, we had, like, 7 people there, 4 people were doing a
And
relay,
where
and
was
3 of
this?
us.
Where was this?
This Yeah, this was called the Miwok 100K in California, just north of San Francisco, so part of the run, we could see
Okay.
this the Golden Gate Bridge. Very pretty, would highly recommend goal race for anyone looking to get into ultras. Um, but we were running our own race, so I was having some severe foot pain that I had never had before.
Mhm.
Um, and here's another mindset thing that I did for this race is I my foot started hurting 2 days before the race. I had never had this pain before. I was like, "Okay, it's just taper tingles." When you're tapering, it means that you dropped off mileage to let your body rest to prepare for the race. So you're running a little bit less and things hurt that don't usually hurt, but usually during the race, it's fine.
Mhm.
So I thought, "Okay, it's gonna be fine. It's just hurting today, but, like, I'm gonna shake it off during the run." It did not shake off. Every single step that I took was painful from the first mile, and I kind of troubleshooted, at a half marathon point, I got to an aid station. We troubleshooted with putting a pad under my foot, kind of like a makeshift insole to try to help with the pain. It kind of worked, kind of didn't, and I could have sat there and been like, "Man, this sucks. I trained so hard. This isn't going the way I wanted to." I kind of got stuck in that for maybe a little bit, but I used it as a way to say, "Look, I'm going to remember every step. Every
Yeah.
step hurts. It's going to make me stay very present." And I switched my mindset to that. I said, "I'm not gonna let this get me down. I am trained. It's going to I'm gonna remember every step." I turned it into a positive. I still sucked. It still hurt,
Yeah.
but because I was able to make it a positive mindset, I was able to continue and finish the race. Another thing was that it became one of the other pains, right? So I was like, "Okay, now my quads are tightening up. My foot is just another one of the pains. It's just part of the race. It's just hard because it's hard." Now, the kicker is I was fighting cutoffs again. And
Right.
when I got to the end of the race, we got to the top of the hill, there was 2 miles left. Well, I thought it was a mile and a half. I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna make it just in time." We got to the top, there was a person standing there, and I said, "How much to the bottom?" And he goes, "2 miles." And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I'm not gonna make it." But I was determined to try, so I started running down this hill. It was just too technical, I couldn't quite keep the pace that I needed to get to the bottom in time. I literally heard the last finisher, everyone exploded, they're like, "Yay, last finisher." I
Oh,
had about,
man.
less than a half mile left, and I finished with 3 minutes over the cutoff time, and they still gave me a medal, so that was super nice, but because of their permitting, they cannot give me an official finish time because their permits say that no one can be on the trail after dark. So
Mhm.
8 PM, if you come in after 8 PM, you can't get an official finish. So
Yeah.
that is technically my first did not finish. I did finish, but I didn't get an official time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did
that
that
was a
mess you
huge
up at all?
segue.
Oh, no, go
Mentally,
ahead. Yeah. To
no,
finish but get a DNF? Did that bring you down, or were you just like, "I don't give a shit. Like, I still finished this race?"
yeah, I was kind of like, I still finished. I do have a little bit of I wanna go back and do better and
Mhm.
finish in time and get an official finish. But that was a long segue into your worth is not based on if you finished. It's based off, did you give it your all? Did
Yes.
you put in the effort of doing your best and not giving up unless something was, you know, detrimentally wrong, yeah, it's not that doesn't define you. Your definition comes from putting it all on the line, and that can happen, again, whether you're running a 5K, a 10K. If you're trying to get off the couch and walk a mile a day, it is a vastly different for wherever you're at in life.
Well, and even not just running a race, right? That translates to everything in life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Did you give it your all? Or did
Did
you
you wake
phone it
up and
in?
choose? Yeah, did you wake up and
Yeah.
choose to give it your all? Whatever you're working towards, it doesn't even have to be an athletic feat.
Mhm. So, I know we kinda touched on this a little bit, but having completed so many races, having completed the race where you got a quote unquote "did not finish, but you did finish," we'll have a talk with them. But do these races yeah, right? Give me their number. Do these races change your identity outside of running? Has it changed your identity outside of running? And I know that you said your mentality is I can do anything. Does that translate to everything in life for you?
Yeah, I do think it does. I think that practicing that positive mindset, the showing up for myself, I do a lot of other things like we kind of mentioned, yoga teacher. Because of this, I'm like, I think this retreat will be a success, and I want to that's something I've always wanted to do. Why not make it happen? Same with I self-proclaimed artist. I coined this the year of the 100 because of the 100K and the 100 miler, but I was also like, I'm gonna show up and do 100 pieces of artwork. Or, this year I focused on photography. If you go on my Instagram,
Yeah.
you'll see black and white photography, and I was like, I'm just gonna write a haiku with each of these images and do 100 of them. And it just makes me more aware and more, I don't wanna say motivated, but able to show up for myself in different ways and know that it is a practice. It is stacking bricks, doing it more than one day. You can't build a portfolio without doing the art.
Mhm.
You can't write a book without writing the sentence, and just figuring out how to check that box on different goals in life every day. How does that
Yeah.
look?
Well, and I mean, obviously, we all have the same numerical amount of time per day, 24 hours.
Mhm.
We sleep for about, depending on, 8 to 6 to 8 of those hours.
6
So,
6 to 10.
yeah. So let's just reduce that out. What are you doing differently than other people to find the time to train? Because obviously you're training at such a high level where you are not just going and running a mile every day. You are having to complete 20, 30, 40 miles to keep up with your training. You wake up I don't know every morning, but a lot of mornings and you're either teaching yoga or boxing and you're up before, whatever. You have a partner, you have friend group, you have a full-time job that often bleeds into more than full-time. So, what makes you different to find the time to say, "You know what? I'm gonna figure out how to do this."
I don't think I am different. I think that anyone can show up daily for themselves. I do think it requires choosing to put yourself first in some cases. I think that that is a hard thing for some people to do. But it also requires finding people in your life that support you. That doesn't have to necessarily be a partner. It could be a run club or whatever. We're talking about fitness, but I have a run club that supports me that we can talk about this. My partner luckily does have the same hobby, but finding someone that supports that dream. I know that people that have kids that do this successfully, and it is
Mhm.
because they have a partner that's saying, I'm gonna be here for the kid. You go do your training, and then we can give and take that responsibility. Because I mean, I don't have a kids, but I do have a dog. She can't come in all my runs. Crazily, I can run further than she can. Yeah, showing up, building a community that does support you in your goals, and then sometimes it just is a matter of either waking up earlier or, doing the training late. Like right now, it's dark. That means I have to go to the gym or I have to run in the dark. You just have to make a plan and know what you're doing the next day. I work with a coach, and I kind of offload that piece of, um, my mental load is saying like, "Hey, you just tell me what to do. I just look at the plan and I'll do it." Um,
Well, and sometimes it's also knowing where to outsource. That is also
yes,
putting
that's
yourself
a good
first.
point. Yeah,
Knowing where to
knowing where to outsource,
outsource
great
as
point.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think that I'm different. I think that I set that priority in my life, and sometimes it is kind of all-consuming. Like, I would say my weekends, I'm not drinking, I'm not going out.
Right.
Sometimes, like, on my off season, I can do that occasionally, but, I have to wake up on Saturday morning and be able to, put my training in. A lot of the times that requires an hour drive to the mountains, 5 hours in the mountains and an hour back. That's almost a full day of work in itself. It's
Mhm.
kind of like having another job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So if somebody is listening and about to quit on something hard, what would you tell them? And I know that we've said this before in this episode, but what would you specifically say if I came to you and I said, Z, I'm about to quit on this? What would you tell me?
I would say, "Are you ebbing or are you flowing?" And here's the trick of the trade is that you never quit when you're ebbing. You never
Never
never quit
quit
when you're
when you're
ebbing.
ebbing.
Yeah, like, if you're in a low, that is not a time to quit. That is a time to assess and say, "What do I need to get back into a flow?" And then when you're flowing, that's when you can think clearly and say, "Okay, let's think this through logically. Um, is it fulfilling me? Is it something I want long term? Is it worth working towards right now?" And when you're at that top, that's when you can clearly say, "Okay, this isn't serving me. I can move on." But if you're like, I'm in a low, everything's going wrong, I would just say don't quit in an ebb.
Yeah. Well, and also, I think a lot of the times when we're in our ebbs, my favorite topic is the nervous system. I'm going to
Mhm.
assume when we are in our ebbs, it's because we're dysregulated on some
Yeah.
level. Whether that be, you're not naming what you're feeling, like, I'm just feeling overwhelmed. I'm just like, maybe I need to take time to ground myself. Maybe I need to, take a second to step back, take a day, whatever. And I think that's where a lot of people quit, obviously, is because whenever they're dysregulated and they haven't taken the time to say, actually, like you said, naming it
Yeah.
and reassessing when you've calmed down. What and you've said this again too, but are there any other mental shifts that can change someone's mind or life immediately?
Immediately?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest, practices that you can do, and this comes from, my coach is Addie Bracy. She wrote a book, called I think it's called The Mental Side of Ultra Running,
Mhm.
One of the first things that she talks about is knowing your why. And I think maybe that's one thing that could change your life. Knowing your why and why you're doing something, that's really what's going to get you through anything that you're trying to accomplish. And it can't be because my partner's doing it. It can't be because my friend's doing it. That is not that's not deep enough. That's not gonna keep you, motivated when things get hard. Um, so truly knowing why is it worth the time to show up for this? I
Yeah,
think that would be a good
I
thing
love that.
to meditate
And I
on
think and I
and
think that translates to everything in life, right? Why?
yeah.
Why? So, real quick before we wrap, because I know we have about 10 minutes, there was a race that one of our mutual friends did, the Grand Canyon race. Have you done that one? And if so, can you kind of explain it? Because that is something that I feel that would be extremely intense.
I think you're talking about the rim to rim to rim?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is not a race per se. I don't think there's an official race, but it is a goal of a lot of people to go to the Grand Canyon and go from side to side. So that would be the rim to rim. So you're going
Mhm.
from one rim down to the valley, back up to the other rim. And then there's the rim to rim to rim, which is one rim across to the other rim and then back to your original rim. The rim to rim to rim is 48 miles, so it is an ultra distance. And yeah, I think it's just another one of those let's check it off our bucket list
Yeah.
items.
Have you done that one?
No, but it is on my bucket list.
Okay, because we obviously know the mutual friend that we're talking about. I'm not gonna name them for
Yeah.
privacy, but they recently did this one, and when we were all speaking about it, the reason I bring this one up is because I can only imagine the mental fortitude that it takes to complete that, because we are talking about you are running down a very narrow path.
And
You are
steep.
running down and steep, and it is the side of a fucking Grand Canyon.
Mhm.
One misstep, you are done. So I can only imagine what you would have to do to train for that, especially if you're facing hallucinations, et cetera, and so forth. So, I mean, even running up a mountain or down a mountain in a actual race is terrifying because, I mean, one misstep could kill you, I'm assuming. I've looked at some of this stuff that you've ran. It's a narrow path.
Yeah.
How do you not freak out?
Lots of stair climber. That's what you need for the Grand Canyon for sure. Yeah, I had this on my bucket list for next year, but, I don't know if you've heard that they had, like, a big fire, at the lodge. So I'm not sure if
Mm-mm.
they will open up the trail for the spring. It might and you can only do the rim to rim to rim when it's nice weather, which is, like, really early spring
Right.
or late fall when it's not scorching hot
Yeah.
desert.
In the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is definitely on my bucket
So,
list.
yeah, well, I'll be rooting from a distance. Okay. As we know.
Perfect.
We know how I handled the mutual friend running it. I was like, good for you. Have fun.
Yeah.
Be careful. Don't step off the canyon. But
Yep.
before we wrap, are you going to do the 300 miler?
Ooh. Wow, I haven't thought about that. Um, I could definitely see being drawn to do a 200 miler at some point. I know
Mhm.
that sounds so crazy, but at some point, like, it is kind of more of a supported through hike, because it is you are sleeping during those, and they make them so that you don't have to do it fast. A lot of these are set up for 5 days, and it's kind of like a
Yeah.
almost like an adventure hike, and you still get support. And 300, whew, that's so I don't know how is that different from 200? I but maybe
What's
200,
100 more
I'll have to.
miles?
Yeah, I know. For some reason, I can wrap my head around 200, but not 300. But
Well, I
maybe
feel
once I
like
do
after you do
200.
200, you're gonna want more. And when do
Yeah.
you ever just say like, "Okay, I'm good?" Like, truly, when do you just keep going for more and more and more? Like, because I'm
Yeah.
assuming after you've and I know this from science, but whenever you do hard things like this, obviously your brain registers dopamine. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, like, yes. And so it does drive you for more. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize is whenever we push ourselves to do things that we don't think is possible, we get such a reward and accomplishment. And so that is what drives you to do more things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think some people run, a marathon and are like, "One and done, good to go." But I would say a lot of those people are probably, like, finishing and being like, "Hmm, I could do that again. It was kinda fun."
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll I think there is a point that it's enough. I think the 100 miler tested me to some limitations where I would like, I think I'll do another one, but I want it to be a little bit different. Maybe not 21,000 feet of vert and see
Yeah.
if I enjoy it a little bit more. But I think, you know, running and being on the trails, exploring nature, it's like my biggest hobby. It's what I love to do. I'd rather be on trails than behind a computer screen. But that's what I do
Yeah.
for a living, so I have to, like, really, overcompensate on the nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Z, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your insights. I will link your retreat and then whatever social media you want to link in the show notes and on my TikTok and Instagram so people know if they want to come join your yoga retreat, which I may be there depending on,
Heyo.
I know. So, thank you again. I have enjoyed this more than you know, and I hope you have the best day.
Thanks, everyone, and if you haven't, do it already.
I love that.